Welcome back to the channel. Everyone, I'm thrilled to have you here for another captivating tale that will tug at your heartstrings and keep you on the edge of your seat. Today's story is one of love, betrayal, and the quest for self-discovery. It's titled My Wife Moved to the Guest Room, and I discovered her secret affair with our insurance guy. Now she wants a divorce. She all but stopped messaging me during the day. And when she did, it was short things about dinner or other trivial items. She started going grocery shopping alone. Needed her time. This is something we used to do together. She has always gone running after work and on weekends, but now with it getting too dark and cold, her running on the weekends have turned into 3 to 4 hour events. She moved out onto the couch saying I moved around too much and she couldn't sleep. The couch then became the guest bedroom. That's when I finally confronted her. She said that she was texting the other man because he had been open about his mental health issues. She has struggled with anxiety and depression for a while, but we had it under better control with counseling and medication. She even initially told me she was going to talk to him, and because I knew him, he goes to our church and is our insurance guy. I foolishly thought that would be okay. On November 14th, I asked her if she still loved me, and she said yes. But she hasn't been happy for quite a while, and it's been a difficult year, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to work on the marriage or not. I told her that I noticed that she hid her phone. Anytime I came into the room, that's when she told me who the other man was. She said that they texted and met sometimes for lunch, but he was just a friend. She said it over and over. As I asked questions about him, I got angry and incredibly sad at the same time and told her that it ceased being just friends when she felt like she had to hide it from me. I asked if she talked about me to him. She said she did. I told her that her affair hurt almost as bad as if she had slept with him. Over the next few days, I just could not shake the feeling that there was more going on than she told me. It's difficult because she says she doesn't want to work on the marriage. I looked at phone records and they call each other first thing in the morning. And during most lunches, then again, as soon as she gets off work, the phone call started on October 10th. So at least a month, she doesn't text him because they use Signal and I don't have access to her phone. Plus it deletes the messages as soon as you send them. Anyway, I talked to her again on Sunday and she said that they only talk and hug. I don't believe her. Maybe it's because of the lies and the broken trust, but I just feel like more is going on than she is telling me. She's currently in the process of finding a new place to live. She was going to wait until January, but I told her last night that I wouldn't be her plan B and that if she was waiting to move out to spare my feelings, to not worry about that. She put a deposit on a place today during her lunch hour. In Virginia, we must be separated for 6 months before we can divorce. As soon as she moves into her new place, that will start the separation time. I've left messages with a couple of divorce attorneys this week, but because of the holiday, they are slow getting back to me. I think I want to split amicably if possible, but I also want to know how far she has taken it. I feel this need to know if it was just an emotional affair or if it was a physical affair. Does it really matter though? Do I push it where she doesn't want to work on our marriage or just let her go and move on with my life? We've been married for 18 years and luckily have no children. I just feel so lost right now, lightheaded and in a fog. I appreciate any advice. Second story is called Caught My Wife Cheating, found out 2 months ago. I've been lurking on this site for a month now and finally decided to post. Short story is that my wife and I have been married since 1994, and I found out about 2 months ago that she has been engaged in a physical affair with a friend of ours for about 6 months. We are both in our mid to late 40s, both in decent shape, and we have a son who has grown and on his own. I will start off by saying that I have not been happy in my marriage for a good 15 years or so. Around 2005, she had an affair with a coworker. I was devastated. I busted her. She did all the crying and hemming and hawing, promising never to cheat again. I kicked her out for a couple of months. And we went to a crappy marriage counselor who basically blamed me for all her bad choices, thinking I was at fault for it all. I sucked it up and we went on and basically buried the whole thing. She was relieved and seemed happy with me, but I kept my mouth shut and just lived with it because I thought that is what a man was supposed to do. Looking back, that year was the year my soul started dying. Now I am relieved, almost ecstatic. You all do not need to console me because I am not in pain. If anything, I am happy because now I can divorce my cheater and get out of this fake marriage without having to feel like the bad guy or that I am in the wrong. She has given me the reason I have needed for 15 years to finally escape without my friends and family, making me out to be the villain. I can say with confidence that I have been a good husband to her all these years. Am I without any faults? No, of course not, but I have never done anything over the past 15 years to warrant this treatment. She knows full well that if she were caught again, then that would be it. Which leads me to believe this is an exit affair on her part. and she wants me to bust her. That is the feeling I get. Maybe I am wrong, but I have a hard time thinking she is that stupid to cheat again after what we went through before and expect me to forgive her again. So, over the past 2 months, I have gathered all the evidence I need to divorce her. I have not confronted her yet or had her served. I do want to eventually expose her to our friends and families in order to protect my own reputation. But I have some questions. 1. Should I wait until after the divorce is final to expose her to our families and the other guy's wife? If I expose now, word might get back to her employer and I don't want her getting fired. I made the stupid mistake of marrying and living in a state where alimony is mandatory. So, if she gets fired, then I'm on the hook. She makes more than me. If she doesn't lose her job, I could ask for alimony. But I won't. 2. How do I tell my son? He was just 6 when she cheated the first time. And even though he couldn't understand at the time, he saw what it did to us. And I think he was affected by our separation. He will be pissed at her, but I don't know any reason why I should lie to him. 3. Should I ask her to move out or try to keep things amicable until the divorce goes through and just live together? I want to keep the house, and in my divorce petition, I state that I will buy out her share of the equity for, I want to start dating again soon. Is there anyone here who went through a divorce where you live with your spouse, but dated other people, or is it best to wait? Third story, caught my wife cheating. She is bipolar. Hi guys. I really could use some advice. My wife is bipolar and has suffered lots of abuse growing up, including abuse by a family member and abuse by her abuser ex-boyfriend who is in jail. I am a private investigator and task force agent. And I missed all the signs. Long story short, we met online as she was unconsciously seeking for a white knight experienced in helping abuse survivors and ended up falling for me within a month. And so did I. Due to COVID, our meeting in person got delayed for months. And after we married, I discovered she was an escort, sugar baby for 3 years. She started on it as to get back at her abusive boyfriend. And also because she was conditioned to be objectified since she was little. She basically stopped doing it around 4 months before we met in person. And we married 3 months after meeting many times. I was hurting because she disappeared. And now I know why she has cried, apologized, and says she feels lots of hate, shame, and disgust towards herself. I believe her. I went to the finish line and found all kinds of texts, emails, hard evidence on her emails, drives, and even some profiles she had at some sugar baby sites. Oh boy, I regret seeing some things. She was very sloppy and hiding stuff. And once I got access to one email, the Pandora box opened. She is a student. And before I supported her financially, she had no income and no prospect of getting a proper job. The lies and the denial, the way she gets defensive is really tough on me. I offered her financial help before we met and she didn't accept it. So, as you can see, she is not after my money. Not that I have much. How do I avoid lashing out? Our relationship and arguments can get dicey in seconds as she is bipolar. And I'm what's known as quiet borderline personality disorder, in which I suffer all the pain and lash at myself. Not at her, not a great combo, but the love we have for each other is gigantic. It's been only 1 month since I found out and I already forgave her. But, at the same time, I have not forgiven myself over not seeing the red flags. Now, I feel I have to be extra vigilant with her. And she has agreed to disclose all her communications with me as I have. And we basically don't leave any room for anyone to be meddling in our relationship. I want to trust her again, especially since it happened before the relationship was real. But, for me, it felt real since day one. She says she only did it once or twice a month to finance her studies. But, I don't know, most days I believe in her good nature and other days I worry a cheater is always a cheater. I also feel that because it happened before our first kiss, I am being a bit oversensitive, but I was faithful for that whole year and I suffered intensely. Anytime I remember those days she disappeared, the pain comes back almost undiluted. It seems I'm on the final stages of grief. I've had a hard life and I get over stuff quick, but I still feel traumatized, and with a little PTSD, what's the best way to disengage? When our arguments start, they go from 0 to 1,000 in 2 seconds. And then the blame game starts. When we are good is the best, but when we are arguing is hell, too intense, too much fire, and both of us get super hurt very quick if the other is not careful. If you enjoyed this story, please show your support by hitting the like button. Your engagement means the world to me and helps keep the stories coming. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on future tales filled with unexpected twists and turns. Subscribing not only keeps you in the loop but also supports me in my quest to bring you more captivating stories. So, take a moment to like and subscribe. Thank you again for your support. and stay tuned for more incredible journeys. Until next time, keep believing in the power of stories to Welcome back to our channel, where we delve into the extraordinary stories of everyday people navigating through life's challenges. Today, I have a tale that's sure to grip your heart and leave you on the edge of your seat. It's a story of betrayal, resilience, and ultimately triumph. In Exposed, my husband's shocking betrayal led to a miraculous comeback. The story of how I fought back. We'll follow the journey of Madison, a woman who faced unimaginable hurdles in her marriage but refused to be defeated. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired by Madison's unwavering courage and determination. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on another captivating story. Now, let's embark on this incredible journey together. Our daughter has passed away. In a somber voice, my mother conveyed this to my husband over the phone. What? Our daughter? You mean Madison? Yes, my daughter. Your wife, Madison? She's gone. Even over the phone, I could tell that my husband was in a state of shock. My husband's actions towards me had been incredibly cruel. Now is the time for him to face the consequences. My name is Madison, a 35-year-old housewife. I was raised with my younger sister under the care of our father, who worked as a bus driver, and our stay-at-home mother. My father was always kind, and my mother had a gentle personality, so our family relationships were good. My responsible younger sister is still single and focused on her career. Jacob, my husband, and I met at work and fell in love. He was tall, handsome, and kind, making him quite popular among our colleagues. As a plain and timid person, it didn't take long for me to fall for him. When he approached me, according to him, he preferred someone with a good personality rather than someone glamorous. Soon after, we got married, and I became a housewife to support my husband. We were blessed with a daughter named Lily soon after. With the financial assistance from my parents, we were able to build a nice house. I should have been at the height of happiness. That is, until I discovered my husband's true nature. After our daughter was born, my husband's attitude gradually became more arrogant. First, he stopped calling me by my name. Hey, whenever he had something to say, he would address me like this. After giving birth, I struggled to lose weight, and my husband started mocking me. Aren't you ashamed of having that kind of figure? You chubby old lady. Around this time, my husband started coming home late at night or early in the morning. I started noticing a scent of perfume on his suit. Since it became a daily occurrence, I finally confronted my husband about it. Taking care of a child is tough for me, too. Instead of going out drinking every day, could you spend more time with our child? Then my husband suddenly became angry and threw a chair at me. I don't drink because I like it. It's part of my job. Why don't you understand? You fat slob. You're the one who has an easy life, doing the same things every day at home. If you have complaints, go on at work. But you can't, can you? My husband shouted at me in a loud voice. After that, I became too afraid to say anything that would anger my husband. At the same time, our monthly living expenses were reduced to only $500. You're just a bored housewife, right? Figure out managing everything with this, okay? Naturally, I couldn't sustain our living with just that. So I started dipping into my savings from when I was single to make ends meet. My life was becoming more difficult day by day. However, when I thought about my younger daughter, I couldn't bring myself to leave the house. But the truth was that I couldn't ignore the pressing need for a solution. Utilizing my design skills from my previous job, I secretly started doing freelance work from home. Before I knew it, I was earning a salary comparable to my husband's. With the financial issues resolved, several years had passed without us divorcing. It was on a certain holiday when Lily turned 3 years old. My husband's phone started ringing while he was in the bath. Unusually, he had left it out on the desk. I ignored it at first, but it kept ringing persistently. So I quietly peeked and saw a woman's name on the screen. I realized that my husband had another woman. When my husband came out of the bath, I calmly told him, "Your phone was ringing." I could tell that my husband's expression changed. "Did you look at my phone?" "Huh? No, I didn't." I lied to my husband as naturally as possible. In response, my husband entered the bedroom with a disgruntled expression. Unconsciously, tears started streaming down my face. I thought to myself, I can't let it end like this. I started secretly recording conversations with my husband using an IC recorder during this time. Furthermore, I hired a private investigator and obtained solid evidence of his infidelity. When our daughter turned 5 years old, the decisive event finally happened. Even now, thinking about it terrifies me. There was an abnormal increase in days when my husband wouldn't come home. He would always claim it was due to business trips. But as someone who worked in the same company, I knew there were no such business trips in his department. What an insult. I had reached my limit with him, going to see his affair partner even while lying with a lie that I could easily see through. During this time, I seriously contemplated divorce. That morning, my husband suddenly announced while coming down the stairs that he had to go on a business trip. Since there wouldn't be any decent meals at home, I might as well eat something good on my business trip. With his snide remark, I finally exploded with anger. What did you say? What do you mean there won't be any decent meals? Stop joking. I make dinner every day even though you rarely bother to eat it. And where do you go while claiming it's a business trip? I have the evidence that you... The moment I said that, my husband flew into a rage. Shut up. Stop saying unnecessary things. He said that and pushed me forcefully. My husband looked down at me, sprawled on the floor, and I easily left the house. I was surprised by the sudden turn of events as my head hit the floor. However, shortly after, my consciousness started fading little by little, and everything before me turned completely dark. When I regained awareness, I found myself on a hospital bed. My daughter and parents were looking at me with worried expressions. Mommy, are you okay? Lily, did you help me, honey? As I tried to hastily get up, pain shot through my entire body, according to my parents. Miraculously, the injuries were not severe, and they said I could be discharged the same day. Yeah, I called Daddy because Mommy got hurt. I told Daddy to come back, but Daddy said he couldn't because of work. So I called Grandma, taking over for our tearful daughter. My mother continued. So I called the ambulance. I was really scared, you know. What happened, Madison? I asked the nurse to take my daughter outside the hospital room. Then I confided my parents about the countless cruel things I had endured from my husband. Both of them listened subtly, and then my father spoke. I see. You don't have to endure anymore. Come back home. And we need to settle things with him properly. By revealing everything to my parents, I finally made up my mind to put an end to this marriage. Our family held a meeting right there, and decided to launch a big act of litigation against my husband. The next day, my husband called my cell phone. My mother answered the call. Our daughter has passed away. My mother delivered the news to my husband in a solemn voice. The phone was on speaker mode. Of course, I was also recording the conversation. What? Our daughter? You mean Madison? Yes, my daughter. Your wife, Madison. She's gone. I could sense my husband's panic even through the phone. My mother continued to pile on him. It seems that she fell and hit her head hard on the floor. Do you have any idea what could have caused it? No. Then my husband, with a feigned voice of tears, said, she was as cheerful as usual this morning. Why did this happen? I suppressed the urge to scream. You're lying, bitch. Anyway, where are you? My mother interrogated my husband with anger. Well, you see, I'm currently on a business trip. It will take me half a day to get back home. Come back immediately, then. We're going home with our daughter now. My mother hung up the phone after saying that. We hurriedly made our way back home. At the same time, I quickly gathered the evidence of his past infidelity, including the voice recorder, and consulted with a lawyer. While I was at it, I checked our bank accounts and life insurance policies and confirmed that my husband hadn't made any changes yet. Preparing for a confrontation with my husband, I evacuated my daughter to my sister's house and waited for my husband's return with my parents. After a while, my husband arrived home. What? Who is she? Suddenly, I widened my eyes in disbelief. To my astonishment, my husband returned home accompanied by another woman. He, who had been informed of my death, was left speechless by the fact that I was still alive. Madison, you're alive? Why? More importantly, who is that person? What? You can't be serious. Did you deceive me? My husband's voice was filled with shock. Not as much as you did. So who is that person? Weren't you all supposed to be at your family home? What are you talking about? This is my home, isn't it? Forget about that for now. Who is that person? No, it's not like that. This is someone from a business deal. Just as my husband started to explain, I laid out the evidence of his affair that I had obtained through a private investigator on the table. According to my investigation, this person seems to be a woman in these photos. What is this? They are probably fake photos or something. Fake, you say? Well, why don't you take a look at the dates on the photos? And this is what I wrote in my diary. My husband is on a business trip. When I called the company, they said he took paid leave. Who was deceiving whom? You have some nerves, ain't that? Then why is she here today? All of the haze. Well, there was a matter that needed attention. Just as my husband was about to respond, the woman interrupted. I'm Anna. I've been dating Jacob with the intention of getting married. Are you Jacob's older sister? What? His sister? I'm Jacob's wife. Surprised by my response, she spoke in a shocked voice. Wife, Jacob told me that he lives with his sister. What are you talking about? I'm his wife. As I responded with disbelief, my husband started to look frightened. However, even in this situation, my husband stumbled and attempted a feeble counterattack. Well, there's a reason for this. I'll explain later. Promise. It seemed like she understood the situation by now. Jacob, you told me that your sister has passed away, didn't you? What does it mean that you have a wife? She confronted my husband fiercely. I also immediately confronted my husband. For these past few years, you've been cheating on me behind my back. And you even pushed me and caused me injury. Who? Jacob? Did you really do such a terrible thing to your wife? Unbelievable. So the same thing could happen to me too, right? Anna said with a half-exasperated expression. True. I love you. I really do. Love her? So that means you admit to cheating on me, right? I joined in the confrontation. No, it's just that. So this is what they call a chaotic situation. My husband panicked, but I remained calm. My parents were looking at my husband with even colder and more distant gazes. There was not a trace of love left for him within me. Divorce. Let's end this and go our separate ways. I'll also break up with him. Simultaneously, Anna and I discarded my husband on the spot. Just pushing me alone is already a serious crime. Furthermore, there is evidence of your infidelity. So be prepared for a huge amount of compensation. To think you were a married man. I truly despise you from the bottom of my heart. I also demand a suitable apology from you. So be prepared for that. Anna was also furious and directed her anger towards my husband. In response, my husband brazenly started making desperate excuses. It's not my fault that medicine fell on the floor. She tripped on her own. Do you have any evidence that I pushed her? Is there anything to prove it? In disbelief at my husband's attitude, I took out an IC recorder. It contained a vivid recording of a sound when he pushed me. In addition, all the past awful remarks he made towards me are perfectly recorded here. There's no escaping from it anymore. You idiot. Furthermore, Anna added, I have email evidence as well. It proves that we met at a matchmaking party, and that he referred to you as his sister. Unable to make any more excuses, my husband finally lost his temper. Shut up, you fat cow. If you were gone, I was planning to be with Anna using your life insurance. She is the daughter of an executive from a business partner. If we got married, my promotion was guaranteed. It's all your fault, Madison. My husband started throwing whatever was within reach at me and even attempted to grab me. At that moment, my father swiftly restrained him in a stranglehold. My father is skilled in judo. Then, with my husband immobilized, Anna delivered a double slap to his face. This one is for me, and this one is for Madison. Saying so, she ended with a powerful knee kick to his sensitive area. As he writhed in agony, I whispered quietly to him. Regarding the life insurance, my parents are beneficiaries, considering the worst-case scenario. Either way, he won't get any money from me. By the way, do you remember who the house is registered to? My parents put money into this house, so it's under their name. If you understand, then leave quickly, okay? Anna added fuel to the fire. So, you're dating me because I'm the daughter of an executive. It's a shame things didn't go as you planned. Goodbye. After a while, the divorce with my husband was finalized. I received all the compensation I could get. Instead of my ex-husband leaving, I ended up living with my parents. Subsequently, my husband's relationship with Anna became known at his company, and he was demoted. Naturally, her parents were furious, and they broke up as well. Furthermore, even at his new position, my ex-husband couldn't get along with colleagues and ended up resigning. Anna also demanded compensation, and his retirement funds were nearly depleted. Currently, my ex-husband is in the process of job hunting, unaware of all this. Anna and her parents discussed it, and she ended up apologizing to me with a letter and even paid damages. Seeing Anna crying and apologizing to me, even though she wasn't at fault, I honestly felt sorry for her. By the way, she soon met someone through a matchmaking and got married to a genuinely single and sincere man. I was relieved to hear that she was able to marry successfully. As for me, my freelance design work from home was going well, and I succeeded in starting my own company. Initially, it was a small company with a few employees, but our performance steadily grew. Recently, the number of employees has increased significantly, and we plan to buy a building next year to expand the company. As for my daughter, she didn't feel lonely even after her father left. In fact, she strongly recognized him as a bad person who didn't come to help when mommy got hurt and never wanted to see him again. In our peaceful and harmonious days without fights, my daughter seems to be growing happily. The other day, filled with gratitude, I invited my parents and sister on a family trip. Not only we could relax at a leisurely resort, but we also found financial stability and peace of mind. I genuinely felt happy. "Hey mommy, I want a cat," my daughter said while eating a meal during our trip. "A cat? That sounds nice. Well, then let's go find a partner for you, Lily." "Oh, a cat. We love cats too. I wonder what kind of cat would be good." A few weeks after that conversation, a new member joined our family. It was a small and mischievous, adorable kitten. I can still hear my daughter's lively voice playing with the kitten today. After that, more good news followed as my sister got married. She finally met a kind and successful businessman. Moreover, she is expecting a baby. So our home will become even more lively from now on. May these happy days continue for as long as possible. Thank you for sticking with us through this intense and emotional story. If you found it as compelling as we did, make sure to leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories. Hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when we release a new video. Until next time, take care and remember, sometimes the truth is more.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm a man, so I think I'm not that special. Therefore, I just do the work regardless of how I feel, and to make matters worse, I swallow my emotions. However, I think my case is genuinely special, so I want you guys to listen and let me know what you think. Your help will be highly appreciated. Here's my story. They say that time heals everything. Plus, they say you just need a new woman to move on. I'm now engaged and back home with my fiancé, but my anger toward my ex will just not go away that easily. I'm 39 years old already and was 18 when I met my ex, Marisol. During that time, I was a member of a Latin Kings band. I had been in that gang for 5 years and always found myself in and out of trouble. Thankfully, Marisol helped me change for the good. She was a church girl, so she was the complete opposite of what I was. We were like night and day. Somehow I thought we would complement each other. You'll understand why I was wrong, but anyway, let me explain to you how I met her. My grandma, a pious and devoted Catholic, dragged me to Sunday Mass, and when I saw Marisol, I fell in love right off the bat. I asked my cousin, who was a friend of hers, if he could introduce me to her, but he refused. He said that he didn't want me to ruin her. He was right, but she got my head in the clouds. Have you ever met someone that you wanted to make yourself better to be with? Wanted to be that man who would walk the right path? That was her. When I found out that she was going to church almost every day, I hung out by the steps, talking to her. I always walked her to and from church. She made me feel like I wasn't worthless. I forgot my love for Jesus Christ, but she was like a faith reminder to me. I felt like the Holy Spirit was invading me. On top of that, I finally gave up on gang life, got my GED, and became a regular churchgoer. One thing led to another, and we ended up dating. I couldn't stop thinking of our promising future together, away from the dangers of the gang lifestyle. However, I got unintentionally pulled back in. I was at a store and ran into someone that I used to have problems with. They were running their mouths, and I tried to ignore it. I swear I did. I just let them talk, and I walked away, but then I got stabbed in the shoulder blade and lost my mind. I beat that man. I just couldn't accept this violence, plus I'd probably die if I didn't fight back. Anyway, I got arrested, and suddenly, it was like the things I did to make my life better vanished. Marisol was mad at me. My grandmother kept bringing up my past mistakes, and my cousin was telling me that he knew that I wasn't going to change. Those tribulations were just a God's test, I guess, but it hurt me to hear those words of unappreciation and distrust. My public defender saw me trying to better myself, and by the grace of God Almighty, got me off after a month in lockup. Despite being angry with me, Marisol visited me almost daily. I really appreciated her understanding, and for me, she was the light at the end of the tunnel. I endured that unjust imprisonment just to be with her again. A month after I got out, I found out I was going to be a father, and I didn't want my kid to have a dad that was dead or in jail. God blessed me with a son and another huge test that would tell if was a man of value or not. Only when you're forced to improve, you improve, and feeding a family and providing for your woman is a huge example of that. I didn't want to be an absent father or get killed. I did not want Marisol to become a single mom. I wanted to do good deeds, not only to seek God's pleasure, but also to thank Marisol for helping me get back to my faith and escape my former lifestyle. I saw this situation as a blessing, but I just didn't know that I would get tested even more after 9 months. I then went to a trade school to become a mechanic, and I hustled for my future family. When Luna was born, it was almost the worst day of my life. Marisol wouldn't stop bleeding. She went into shock, and they had to give her a double hysterectomy. She was in the hospital for months, and Luna became my world. I wanted her life to be the best. I wanted to give her the world. When Marisol was released, I promised her that our daughter will have a life far better than ours, and for years I kept that promise. I saved enough money to move us to the suburbs and became homeowners. I made sure Luna went to private school, knew how to defend herself, and always made sure I was the perfect husband. I didn't know my parents. Plus, I didn't have a positive male role model in my life, so I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. Television dads were my male role models, and I mimicked them and the marriage they had on television. As the years went by, I owned my own garage. My cousin became a pastor. My grandmother was still a pain in my neck. My relationship with my wife was stronger than ever, and I made sure I kept my prison body, but Luna hated me. Since she turned 13, she just started hating me. She didn't want me to hug her, rolled her eyes every time I told her I loved her, ignored me when I asked her about her day in school. It hurt me, and Marisol saw it. She told me that she was a teenager and that I should just let it ride. She will come back to me. For 2 years, it was like that. So for her quinceañera, I wanted to go all out, got everything she wanted, and she was still disrespectful. Briefly, the old me almost came out just to put her in her place, but instead, I went to my cousin, vented my frustration and doubts about being a good father, and he told me to just let her be, and he said a prayer for me. I wanted a slideshow for the father-daughter dance. I got a chunk of the pictures of us together, but I realized I didn't have any recent pictures of us. She didn't want to take any. The last time I had pictures of her and me smiling with me was on her 13th birthday, and those were on my daughter's broken tablet. I took that tablet, went to a repair shop, and I didn't care about the cost. I needed that tablet fixed, after a day and $300. The tech fixed it, and I was happy. I knew her passcode, but I never bothered invading her privacy. I just wanted those pictures, and when I opened that tablet and looked in the gallery, there they were, my little girl smiling and happy to be with me. I felt great. Then the instant messages appeared. It was my daughter talking to my wife. It was a long banter that she didn't want me to dance with her, and it did hurt, but as my wife said, she's being a teenager. Then she said something that destroyed me. She asked why she had to do the father-daughter dance with me, since I'm not her father. I felt my heart stop, got dizzy, my mouth dried up, and I needed to sit down. My wife responded that I raised her, I loved her, and that makes me her father. But Luna responded by saying that my cousin is her father, and she can't wait for her to turn 18, so she could tell me the truth, and she could live with her real dad. That she hated me, that she thanked God that I'm not her father. Marisol began cursing her out, saying that it was a mistake for my cousin to tell her the truth 2 years ago, and the more they talked, the angrier I got. My wife lied to me for 15 years. My cousin whom I confide my issues about Luna, and my fears about being a bad father not only slept with my wife, but had me raise his child. I wanted to hurt them. I felt a mixture of anger, sorrow, and grief. I wanted to scream, cry, and die at the same time if that makes any sense. Not only did I believe that my wife was faithful, the very guy who was supporting me during my tough times, my cousin was the kids, that's a double betrayal. But you know what? Revenge is a dish best served cold. It was about time to give these traitors a taste of their own medicine. I went to a dark place, so I wouldn't do anything stupid. I told Marisol that I needed to focus on work so I could pay for the quinceanera, and instead I drove to Manhattan and saw my old public defender, who wasn't a low-level attorney anymore. He had a nice, expensive firm near Midtown East. I was surprised that he remembered me, but apparently I was his first case as a public defender. We sat down and I told him everything. Gave him the tablet, and when he turned it on, the messages just kept coming. Only this time, Luna was talking to my cousin, her real father, and he was telling her to give me a chance. How I was always there for her, but Luna told him that so was he. How it makes sense that they have so much in common, and even called him Poppy multiple times in their conversation, and he responded and told her that she was his little girl. We went through our options, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and I told him that I wanted to go full scorched earth. I wanted to poison the well, and he asked me several times if that is what I wanted and nodded. I also told him that everything had to be filed before the quinceanera in 2 weeks. So we sat down and spent the next 12 hours on what needed to be done, and I followed his instructions to the letter. I secretly placed my business for sale. I called the private school and told them that I will not be paying for next year. I closed the college accounts and the savings that I had for Luna and prepared to place my house for sale online. There was only one thing I deviated from: the day of the quinceanera. That day went off without a hitch. The whole family was there. Luna was smiling and having fun. Marisol kept asking me if I was okay, and I lied to her. It was hard not to hate her. She knowingly let me raise another man's child. She slept with my cousin, a man who saw me as my brother and the godfather of my child. So the rage was hard to suppress, to say the least. When it was time for the father-daughter dance, I called her to the center of the stage. She looked annoyed, but walked over. I had the music playing, and her smile tore me apart. For years, I wanted to see that smile again, and now I didn't want it. As we danced, I had the slideshow playing. Then there were pictures of the two of us, and towards the end of the song, screenshots of her text messages with her mother and real father. My wife, the cheater, learned the hard way why the Bible criminalizes adultery, and my cousin learned the hard way why you shouldn't put your hands on another man's woman. Both acts have severe consequences. Needless to say, this didn't bode too well. Marisol looked like she saw a ghost. Luna just kept staring at the large screen, and my cousin just stared at me with fear. Marisol ran to me and told me that she could explain, and I told her that I filed for a divorce. She could explain it in court. She grabbed my arm, begging me, and I pulled back. I told Luna that I worked a lot to give her the world, and now she doesn't deserve it. I began to walk out, but not before telling my cousin that every time I see him, I'm going to knock him out. Then I knocked him out. The aftermath was harsh. Marisol and Luna were at my grandmother's apartment. Her family was shocked and disgusted with her. They wanted nothing to do with her. Her father actually apologized to me. I don't know why. He never liked me despite turning my life around. That man hated me, but now I was the perfect husband and father, but just a few days prior, I was the devil incarnate. My grandmother had the audacity to tell me about the story of Abraham and how when came back from battle 3 years later, his wife had a 1-year-old child, and he raised him as his own, and how I should be like Abraham, so I told her to get out of my house. All those religious people were the biggest sinners on the planet in my eyes. I admit my past sins, especially the years as a gang member, but at least I gave up on that lifestyle and became a good provider and husband. In contrast, these religious individuals were nothing but traitors. She wanted to go to therapy, but I just didn't feel like it. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Plus, she thought I was overreacting. To make matters worse, she acted like she was a telenovela actress, blowing up my phone after she learned that I sold my business and I put her house on sale. To this day, I don't know what hurts the most: being lied to by a woman who you thought was the love of your life, or having a child whose life you tried to improve and give the world just toss you aside like trash. Fortunately, I didn't need to pay any child support, and the female judge was absolutely fair. God bless her for her understanding. I'm a man well treated by the judicial system. That's a great accomplishment. Still, I'm not over what she did. Opie, You escaped a toxic lifestyle and came back to your faith. That's admirable, and you're a great example of discipline. It's natural that you reacted badly when that gangster stabbed you in the shoulder, and you should not have been put in prison. However, all this proves is that Marisol wasn't the one for you since she cheated on you with your cousin and lied to you for 15 years. Once a cheater, always a cheater. And let's not forget your cousin. He's a traitor too. Now that you're not providing for your ex-wife and your cousin's kid, they're both contacting you and trying to make things up. Keep in mind that you've just made the right decision, and you shouldn't feel any regrets for ignoring those liars. Thank you for sharing this admirable story with us. I wish you all the best going forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Hey there, friends. Buckle up, because you're about to hear a wild story that will have your jaw on the floor. So here's how it started. I'd been suspecting something fishy for a while, you know? My wife, Jenna, always had this look, like she was hiding something. Like when she'd jump at every text notification, or how she'd suddenly started working late but never talked about her day anymore. Weird, right? So, I did what any guy in my shoes would do. I hired a pie. Yeah, a private investigator. Guy was like something out of a noir film, trench coat and all. When he first showed up, I half expected him to light up a cigarette and start talking about some dame in distress. Anyway, this pie, let's call him Jack, he gets to work. He's got gadgets and gizmos. Felt like I was in a spy movie or something. He starts tailing Jenna, taking photos, the whole 9 yards. And me, I'm trying to act normal, keep the home fires burning. I'm making dinner, asking Jenna how her day was, all while wondering what Jack's finding out. So, a couple of weeks go by, and Jack calls me for a meeting. We sit down in this dingy diner, the kind where the coffee's too strong and the pie is too sweet. He slides this envelope across the table. Inside, there they are. Pictures of Jenna and our neighbor, Rick. Rick, of all people. The dude borrows my lawnmower every other Sunday. And there he is, cozying up to my wife at some fancy restaurant, laughing at some joke, looking like he doesn't have a care in the world. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. Jenna and we'd had our ups and downs, sure, but I never thought she'd do something like this. And with Rick, it was like a bad joke. Rick, who'd come over for barbecue and beers, who'd talk about his fantasy football team like it was the most important thing in the world. And here he was, sneaking around with my wife. I remember driving home that night, the envelope sitting on the passenger seat like some toxic thing. I was angry, sure, but also just tired. Tired of the lies, the secrets, the not knowing. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a while, watching the lights in our house. Jenna was in there, probably watching some reality TV show or scrolling through her phone. And I'm sitting out here, with proof that our life together's a sham. So, I go inside, trying to keep my face blank. Jenna's on the couch, and she looks up, smiles, asks how my day was. And I just nod, say it was fine, nothing special. But inside, man, inside I'm a mess. I'm thinking about how I'm going to confront her, what I'm going to say. Do I throw the pictures in her face? Do I play it cool, gather more evidence? But for that night, I just went to bed, pretending everything was normal. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Jenna, about Rick, about this whole messed up situation. And I realized something. I needed a plan. I couldn't just confront Jenna, not yet. I needed to be smart about this, play the long game. So, that's what I decided to do. I'd play the doting husband, keep my eyes and ears open, and figure out what my next move would be. Little did Jenna know, I was onto her. And Rick, Mr. Friendly Neighbor, he was going to get his, too. It was just a matter of time. One evening, Jenna sits me down, all serious like. She's got this rehearsed speech about open marriage and exploring ourselves. I'm just sitting there, poker-faced, trying to keep my cool. Inside, my mind's racing a mile a minute, thinking about those pies photos of her and Rick. But there I am, nodding like one of those bobblehead dolls, pretending to consider it. Jenna's going on about how we've grown apart, how we need to find ourselves again, you know. All that self-help mumbo-jumbo. She's talking about freedom and new experiences, but all I can hear is, I want to cheat without feeling guilty. The irony, right? There she was, pitching this idea to me, not knowing I already had the scorecard. I throw in a question here and there, playing the part of the intrigued husband. How does this work? Aren't you worried about our relationship? That sort of thing. And Jenna, bless her, she's got answers for everything, like she'd been planning this talk for weeks. Maybe she had. She talked about trust and honesty that almost made me laugh, and how it could strengthen our relationship. The whole time, I'm thinking about Rick, Mr. Nice Guy next door, who probably thought he was so clever. And Jenna, who was trying to paint this picture of a modern, open-minded relationship, when in reality, she just wanted her cake and eat it, too. So, I tell her I need time to think about it. It's a big decision, I say, and she nods, looking relieved that I didn't shut it down right away. She's probably thinking she's played her cards right, got me considering this wild idea. Little did she know, I was 2 steps ahead. That night, I lay in bed, Jenna's fast asleep next to me, probably dreaming about her freedom. And I'm wide awake, thinking about my next move. This proposition of hers, it was a curveball, but I could work with it. It gave me an angle, a way to turn the tables. I start imagining different scenarios, how to use this to my advantage. Maybe I could agree to it, see how she reacts. Would she jump at the opportunity, run straight to Rick? Or would she backpedal, realizing I called her bluff? But it wasn't just about catching her in the act anymore. It was about understanding why. Why Jenna? Why Rick? Why this whole mess? I wanted answers, and I wasn't going to rest until I got them. So, I drift off to sleep, a plan forming in my mind. Jenna wanted an open marriage? Well, she was going to get more than she bargained for. I was going to play the game, but on my terms. And at the end of it, I'd be the one holding all the cards. Before we dive into the next chapter of this roller coaster story, I've got a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this tale of love, adventure, and unexpected twists, how about showing some love? Hit that like button to let me know you're on board. It's a simple click for you, but it means the world to me. It's like a virtual high five, telling me to keep the stories coming. And hey, why stop there? Go ahead and hit subscribe, too. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Okay, so here's the twist. I'm not just gonna sit around feeling sorry for myself. No way. It's time for some good old-fashioned cunning. I start planning, scheming almost. I'm gonna outsmart Jenna at her own game. How, you ask? By becoming the most supportive husband on the planet. Yeah, you heard that right. I'm encouraging her idea, nodding along to her talks about freedom and self-discovery. All the while, I'm collecting evidence, making notes. In my head, it's like, two can play this game. So, I start this double life. By day, I'm Mr. Supportive, telling Jenna to explore, to find her happiness. By night, I'm like a detective in those old films, piecing together the puzzle. I'm checking bank statements for unusual expenses, noting down times she comes home late, even keeping track of her wardrobe choices. You'd be surprised what you can learn from a change in fashion sense. Meanwhile, I keep in touch with the pie, Jack. He's getting more into the nitty-gritty now. We're not just talking about tailing Jenna anymore, we're digging into Rick's life too. Turns out, our friendly neighbor isn't as clean-cut as he seems. Jack's finding connections to some shady characters, the kind you don't want to owe money to. In the midst of all this, I'm doing some soul-searching. What do I want out of all this? Revenge? Closure? I don't even know anymore. But one thing's for sure, I'm not going down without a fight. Jenna thinks she's playing me, but she has no idea what's coming. Every conversation with Jenna, every encounter with Rick, it's all part of the plan now. I'm watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. And it's not just about catching Jenna in the act anymore. I want to understand the whole picture, see how deep this rabbit hole goes. The strategy is simple. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Jenna's my wife, but right now, she's on the other side of the chessboard. And Rick, he's just a pawn in a much larger game. I start making subtle changes too. Working out more, dressing better, even picking up new hobbies. It's all part of the facade, this new version of me that's playing the game. Jenna notices, says I seem different, more alive. If only she knew why. As the days pass, the tension at home is like a ticking time bomb. We're both playing our parts, smiling and pretending, but the air's thick with unspoken truths. It's a psychological game, a battle of wits, and I'm determined to come out on top. So that's the strategy. Be the supportive husband, gather the evidence, and wait for the perfect moment to turn the tables. Jenna thinks she's in control, but she's just a player in my game now. And I'm playing to win. Now, while Jenna's off with Rick, I'm not just sitting around, twiddling my thumbs. Nope. I start my own adventure. Kinda like a side quest in a video game, you know? I meet people, make friends. It's a whole new world out there, and I'm diving in headfirst. Some of them are in similar situations, dealing with their own relationship dramas. Others are just interesting characters with stories that could fill a book. First up, there's Lisa. She's a bartender at this cozy little joint I stumbled upon. Man, she's got a sharp wit that can slice through the thickest tension. She has this way of talking about life, mixing humor and wisdom, that just makes you see things differently. We chat about everything and nothing, from the meaning of life to the best way to make a martini. She doesn't know my story, the whole Jenna and Rick saga, but her perspectives, they're like a breath of fresh air. Then there's Mark. Met him at the gym, of all places. The guy's built like a tank, but he's got a heart of gold. He's going through a rough patch himself, something about a messy divorce. We spot each other, not just with the weights, but in life too. He's got this positive energy, always pushing forward, no matter what. Makes me think, maybe there's a light at the end of this tunnel I'm in. These new connections, they're giving me something I didn't realize I'd lost, a sense of belonging, a feeling that there's more to life than this drama I'm in. It's weird, you know, finding fragments of yourself in strangers. They're showing me different paths, different ways to live, and I'm soaking it all in. I start trying new things, exploring new hobbies. I pick up a guitar, start strumming some tunes. I'm no Hendrix, but hey, it's fun. I even join a local book club, can you believe it? Me, discussing literature over coffee and pastries. It's a far cry from the late-night stakeouts and secret meetings. But here's the kicker: as I'm out there, living this parallel life, I'm learning, growing. These experiences, they're not just distractions, they're shaping me, changing the way I see things. I'm not just the guy whose wife's having an affair anymore. I'm more than that. I'm a friend, a musician in the making, a budding literary critic. And as I'm rediscovering myself, the situation at home becomes clearer. It's like stepping back from a painting and finally seeing the whole picture. Jenna's affair, it's just a part of a larger canvas, and I'm starting to figure out where I fit in it. So, while Jenna's off with Rick, living her double life, I'm on my own journey, finding new sides of myself, meeting people who light up different parts of my soul. It's an unexpected turn in my story, but hey, isn't that what makes life interesting? Things start getting weird, like really weird. Jenna's acting all jumpy, like a cat on a hot tin roof. Every time her phone buzzes, she's on it faster than lightning, and her eyes dart around like she's expecting the FBI to bust down the door. And Rick, oh boy, he's looking over his shoulder like he's the star of a spy movie. I'm telling you, it's like watching a thriller unfold right in my own backyard. This is where it gets juicy. I'm hearing rumors, whispers around the neighborhood. People are talking about debts, shady deals, and not so legal activities. Looks like our Mr. Nice Guy neighbor isn't so nice after all. And my trusty pie, Jack? He's digging up more dirt than a backhoe at a construction site. It's not just affair stuff now, it's big-time trouble. Turns out, Rick's into some seriously bad business, the kind that gets you more than just dirty looks. One day, Jack shows up with this folder, thick as a novel. He's got bank statements, photos, records. It's like Christmas came early for a snob like me. We're talking illegal gambling, money laundering, you name it. Rick's mixed up in all sorts of shady stuff. And Jenna, she's right there with him, knee-deep in the mud. I start putting the pieces together, and man, it's like a jigsaw puzzle from hell. Jenna's nervous behavior, those late-night whispers on the phone, it all makes sense now. She's not just cheating, she's tangled up in Rick's criminal spider web. Now, I'm not just dealing with a broken marriage, I'm in the middle of a crime drama. And let me tell you, it's not as glamorous as it sounds. I've got to tread carefully, play my cards right. One wrong move, and I could end up in a world of trouble. But the plot thickens. I'm seeing changes in Jenna that I can't ignore. She's not the same woman I married. She's secretive, paranoid, and I can tell she's in over her head. Part of me wants to confront her, shake her out of this nightmare she's walked into. But the other part, the cold, calculating part, tells me to wait. Gather more evidence, build a case so airtight it could float in space. And Rick, he's getting more brazen, more careless. I see him around the neighborhood, throwing glances over his shoulder, meeting with shady-looking characters. It's like he's on a self-destruct button countdown, and I'm just waiting for the explosion. So, there I am, stuck in the middle of this unraveling mess. My wife's tangled up in a criminal's web, and I'm sitting on a mountain of evidence. It's a dangerous game, but I'm in it to win it. I'm not just going to sit back and watch my life crumble. No, sir, I'm going to take control of the narrative, steer this ship through the storm. But let me tell you, it's not easy. Every day brings a new challenge, a new twist. It's like living in a suspense novel, except the stakes are real, and the ending's still unwritten. One night, it's like a switch flips in me. Enough is enough. I decide it's time to confront Jenna. No more games, no more waiting. It's like stepping into the ring for the final showdown. I wait for her to get home, sitting in the living room, every light off except for the lamp by my chair. It's all very cinematic, trust me. She walks in, sees me sitting there, and I can tell she knows something's up. Her smile fades faster than a shooting star. I don't waste any time. I lay it all out: the affair, Rick's shady dealings, everything I've learned from Jack and my own detective work. I watch her face go white as a ghost. It's like watching someone realize they've been caught in a trap they didn't even know was there. Jenna stammers, tries to explain, but it's all excuses, you know? The kind of stuff you'd expect in a situation like this. It's not what you think, you've got it all wrong, that sort of thing. But I'm calm, collected, like a judge delivering a verdict. I tell her I know everything. Man, the shock in her eyes, it's something else. It's a mix of fear, guilt, and something else I can't quite put my finger on. But here's the twist: I'm not just angry. I'm disappointed. Profoundly disappointed. This was the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew. And here she is, a stranger in my own house. I ask her the questions that have been burning in my mind. Why Rick? Why lie? Why drag me through this hell? Her answers are a jumble of half-truths and tearful apologies. She talks about feeling lost, confused, about how things with Rick just happened. It's like listening to a script from a bad soap opera. I sit there, listening to her unravel the web of lies she's been weaving, and it's almost surreal. This confrontation, it's not just about anger, or it's about closure, about ripping off the band-aid and facing the wound underneath. I needed to hear her say it, needed to face the reality of our broken marriage head-on. And then, I do something that surprises even me. I don't yell, don't throw accusations or insults. I simply tell her that I can't be part of this lie anymore. That the woman I loved, the woman I thought she was, would never have done something like this. It's a quiet moment, but it's powerful. The air is thick with unspoken words and shattered illusions. As the night wears on, we talk more about us, about what went wrong, where we go from here. It's not a pleasant conversation, but it's necessary. We're like two actors at the end of a play, taking off our masks and seeing each other for who we really are. So, that's the confrontation. It's not a fiery explosion of drama and tears. It's a quiet implosion, a realization that sometimes things just can't go back to the way they were. And as I go to bed that night, I know that a chapter in my life is closing. A painful, messy chapter, but one that's taught me more about myself than I ever thought possible. So, Rick's world starts crumbling like a cookie in a toddler's fist. The cops get involved, and it's not just a small-time thing. We're talking raids, flashing lights, the whole 9 yards. Turns out, Rick's been neck-deep in illegal activity stuff that makes a soap opera plot look like a bedtime story. And Jenna, oh Jenna, she's terrified, realizing she's been playing house with a bona fide criminal. It's like watching a house of cards in a windstorm. One minute Rick's Mr. Respectable neighbor, next thing you know, he's being handcuffed and shoved into a police car. The neighborhood's buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. Everyone's got theories, but I'm sitting back, watching the show with a bucket of popcorn. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Now, Jenna. She's in full panic mode. She comes to me, all tears and apologies. It's like a dam's burst, and years of lies and deceit are flooding out. She's blubbering about not knowing the real Rick, how she got caught up in the thrill of it all. But here's the thing, I'm done. Totally, utterly done. I've seen a different life now. One where I'm not the punchline in someone else's joke. I tell Jenna it's over. No dramatic shouting matches, no throwing plates. Just a calm conversation, which almost makes it worse, right? I've had enough drama to last a lifetime. She's begging, promising change, but it's like the ship's already sunk, and she's offering me a bucket to bail water. The next few days are a blur of moving boxes and legal papers. It's weird how quickly a life built together can be dismantled. I'm dividing up possessions with the precision of a surgeon. Every item is a memory, good or bad, but I'm past clinging to the past. As for Rick, the guy's toast. Legal troubles up to his eyeballs. And the neighborhood? Turns into a real-life crime drama set. People can't stop talking about it. I even overhear a couple of kids trading Rick stories like baseball cards. In the middle of this chaos, I'm finding peace. It's like I've walked through a storm and come out the other side. I'm reconnecting with old friends, picking up hobbies I'd forgotten I loved. It's a rediscovery of who I was before Jenna, before Rick, before this whole mess. Jenna moves out, and the house feels different, emptier, sure, but also like a weight's been lifted. I'm turning over a new leaf, rediscovering joys in the little things. Morning coffee tastes better, the sun seems brighter, and I'm smiling more. It's not happiness, not yet, but it's a start. I realize that this downfall, it's not just Rick's or Jenna's. It's the end of a chapter in my life too. But every end's a beginning, right? I'm standing at the start of a new path, and for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see where it leads. So here's the kicker. Jenna's fairy tale turns into a nightmare. Her affair blows up like a firecracker in her face. Rick? He's trading his suburban castle for a jail cell. And me? I'm like a bird that's just been let out of a cage. Free. It's a whole new world, and I'm standing at the threshold, ready to take the leap. I'm not just talking about moving on. I'm talking about a total life overhaul. I've got these new friends, see? Lisa and Mark. They're like my partners in crime, but the good kind. We've bonded over shared experiences, over stories and laughter. They've shown me that life's got so much more to offer when you're not stuck in a toxic loop. We're planning this road trip, something I've never done before. We're talking about hitting the road, no set destination, just the open highway and a world of possibilities. It's like one of those movies, where the hero hits the road to find himself. Only this time, it's not a movie, it's my life. And Jenna? She's become a chapter in my old life, a lesson learned. I'm not bitter, I'm just done. I've turned the page on that part of my life. There's no revenge plot, no grand confrontation left. Just a quiet acceptance and a determination to build something new. As I pack up my car, I feel lighter, like I'm shedding a skin that no longer fits. I've got my guitar in the back seat, a bag of clothes, and a heart full of hope. Lisa's planning the playlist, and Mark's in charge of snacks. It's a motley crew, but man, it feels right. We hit the road, and with each mile, I can feel the weight of the past fading away. The open road is therapeutic, like a balm to my soul. We stop at diners, chat with strangers, and watch sunsets that paint the sky in colors I've never seen before. This journey, it's more than just a road trip. It's a journey of self-discovery. I'm learning to laugh again, to take risks, to live in the moment. Lisa and Mark, they're not just friends, they're my lifeline to a world I'd forgotten existed. Night falls, and we're sitting around a campfire, sharing stories and dreams. I look up at the stars, and it hits me I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm not defined by my past, by Jenna, or by the mess she left behind. I'm my own person, with a future as wide and open as the night sky. You won't believe what happens next. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this jaw-dropping saga. Trust me, you're going to want to. Hello, lovely viewers, and welcome back to our storytelling session. Today's tale is one of shock, betrayal, and sweet, sweet revenge. Picture this. You come home early to surprise your beloved spouse, only to find them entangled with someone else in your own bed. It's the stuff of nightmares, isn't it? But what happens next is a plot twist you won't see coming. Join me as we delve into the story titled, I Came Home Early to Surprise My Wife and Found Her in Bed with Another Man. Here's how I got my revenge. What he then came home to was terrifying. He saw his wife in bed with her affair partner, but rather than confronting them, he recorded them for proof, then walked out and ghosted her. Now, she's history. Let's get into today's story to find out what happened. So, I went on a work trip for a week and told my partner of 3 years, ex, that I was coming home on Sunday, but I had actually booked a fly-in yesterday and take her on a surprise date for her birthday, which I otherwise would have missed. I messaged ex happy birthday yesterday morning and asked what she was doing for the day, to which she replied she would be having a wine and movies night with her friend, who lives in our apartment block. I reiterated that I could not wait to be home on Sunday. She said she couldn't wait and that she loved me. It has been really hard to write and relive this, but when I got home, I parked out by the front of the building on the street, and when I walked through the code gate, I couldn't see lights on up by our balcony. I did see Y's lights on, so I assumed X would be at her place. I didn't even have to enter, as her place was on ground level, and I saw through her window she was on her couch watching TV alone. I figured maybe X was out, so I walked up our 3 flights of stairs, and as I approached the door, I could hear it, and my heart just sank. The sound of R&B music, moaning and knocking. The door wasn't even locked, and with the way it's positioned, opening the door gave a direct view of our bedroom. I just slightly opened the door and saw my girlfriend straddled on top of who I instantly recognized to be a guy from the gym we go to. I think what stood out to me more was that it looked like it was unprotected sex, as I could see everything. I quietly closed the door and my soul just felt like it floated out of me. I knew they never heard me or noticed the door. I sat on the step for a good 5 minutes to process. This has always been my worst nightmare, but to literally have it play out exactly how I dreaded, another man in our bed just gripped at the heart. I couldn't cry as it felt so surreal. Was this really happening? Was I dreaming? The continued sounds quickly brought me back to earth. I got up and walked out of the building and towards the front gate. Wyatt spotted me through the window and called out to me and waved, gesturing for me to come over. I do get along very well with her, and in the past she had told X how highly she thought of me as a friend too. She had also openly told X that she found me attractive and asked if I had single friends who were also my nationality, from New Zealand. There had always been chemistry between us the first time I met Y, but that always stayed buried in my mind. I put on a brave face and walked into her apartment. We hugged, and she asked what I was doing home early. I told her I had dates mixed up and wasn't she supposed to be having birthday drinks with X? She seemed confused and told me that X said she was going out for drinks with some of our gym friends. Go figure. I instantly burst out in tears and cried for what felt like forever, and she got quite worried asking what was wrong, did something happen to me, etc. I struggled for words, but blurted out that I had just walked in on the 2 of them in our bed. Her face turned so white, and she just hugged me and started to cry too. She knew I was a joker, but I think she knew this was no joke. I just started talking out of frustration, saying that I didn't know what to do, that they could be up there all night, and that this was my nightmare. We had no issues in our relationship other than her lack of interest in sex once every 6 weeks. It's a wonder I lasted 3 years with her, and I had accepted that a long time ago. Y laughed through her tears and told me she had always been single and not had sex the entire time she knew me, and joked that maybe we could both use it. That actually made me laugh a bit too, and I hugged her, thanked her, and for a second forgot X was upstairs cheating on me. I asked her if I could stay there for the night as I had nowhere to go, and I slept on the couch. I am still here a day later. I watched the guy leave in the morning and watched in tears when he came back this evening. I'm supposed to be home tomorrow afternoon. I haven't texted X all day, but she hasn't texted me either. Truth be told, the only comfort I have now is with Y. How do I deal with X? Do I walk up there and interrupt? Do I call? Firstly, I want to thank everyone for their views, opinions, and advice. I'm still trying to keep up with reading the comments. I appreciate those saying I should have had a backbone or a spine. To be honest, I'd be saying the same things to someone else. This is my first experience with infidelity, so it was easier to judge until it actually happened to me. Anywho, before I tell you what has happened today, I will answer a few questions. Me. I have my own business and run it end to end by myself. I travel maybe 3 times a year to meet with production facilities and do quality checks for my product. Physically, I am 6 feet 6 inches, 124 kilograms, and I play rugby and have done a lot of boxing, so I can definitely defend myself. However, I do not go around using that. I absolutely tower over that piece of crap guy in every way. I earn a very comfortable living, as does X, so a split will not financially cripple either of us. And we're not married. The tears have been shed. I realize this was a blessing in disguise, and I know what I need to do. Apartment. We split all the bills 50 to 50 and have 4 months, and a week left on a year-long lease which has both our names on it. We had been actively looking for a home to buy. I guess I dodged a bullet there. Why? What a woman. Aside from her personality, she is absolutely gorgeous. How she is and always has been single, I will never know, and she has not been intimate with anyone in over 3 years, according to X. She has been on my side through it all without saying a cruel word about X. She understands it was a bad thing to do towards me and that it does not involve her. That being said, she has said once X inevitably owns up to it, she will likely stop being friends with her. She has not tried to come on to me like a rebound and has just been super supportive. That alone speaks volumes to her character. X works in a hospital and is very attractive. Nice woman, but can be quite self-centered. In hindsight, we were basically just friends. We have only ever had protected sex because she does not want to get pregnant or go on the pill, and it was once in a blue moon. I guess I just accepted it and got too comfortable in the relationship being what it was. I'm just trying to get my head around how she never even showed signs that she was cheating. I know I'm not perfect, but I have always been good to her, always cooked for her, and did a lot around the house. We went on dates regularly. I told her things about her to make her feel loved, and I always got brushed off after what I thought was a good night. I now question why. If she didn't want me, why did she stay for so long? My plan. I intended to call her this morning to say my flight would be leaving earlier and that could she pick me up at the airport earlier. With the airport being a 40-minute drive away, I would use this time to go up and pack all of my things and rush them to my car. Y said I could put some of it in her spare room. Once X noticed my things missing, she would try to call me, message me, etc., and I would simply respond with a photo of the two of them in bed. After reading comments, I decided the cruelest punishment for her would be to have no closure. I would explain to the property manager my circumstances and go and stay with a friend until I could find a new place. X could cover the rent. She could certainly afford it. I do have the option to stay with Y, but that is way too close to X, and I do not want to do anything with Y that could ruin our friendship, even though I know her and I are inevitable. The outcome. I went up very early in the morning and very quietly opened the door. Fortunately, they were asleep on the bed, so I took a photo of them, but it was weird. I almost felt guilty about violating privacy when my entire relationship was violated. I did not feel sad anymore, just angry and betrayed. I noticed his shoes on the floor next to my various, much larger pairs. I decided to take a photo of those and use it first. I figured it would be a more subtle way that she would likely lie about until I hit her with the photo of them in bed. I went back down to Y's and waited around for another hour or so until I was certain X would be awake. I tried to call but got no answer, and twice again to no answer. I looked at Y and we both just knew what was happening. After about a half hour, she called me and sounded very much awake and like everything was very much normal. I tried to put on my normal voice and told her my flight was leaving 2 hours earlier than I thought. I asked if she could collect me at 1 p.m. She said yes and that she loved me, that she was at her parents' for breakfast, and that they said hello. Lie. On that note, her parents love me and will be broken about this. I went and laid down for a few hours to run through what I would get from the apartment. Other than clothes and a few appliances, most of my stuff was already boxed as I knew that if we bought a house, I wanted an easy move. Around midday, I saw X go down to the car park and I gave it a few minutes after she left before I moved my car and went upstairs. It smelled like air freshener and I noticed new sheets and covers on the bed. All the dishes were done. She went to every length to cover up that anyone else had ever been there. It took me all but 10 minutes to gather all of my things. If I forgot anything, I probably didn't care about it. It did feel weird knowing it would be a goodbye to the place I called home, but I felt strong. X sent me a message asking where I was as she was at the arrivals area. I replied and said I was held up and that I would Uber home. Maybe an hour later, a bunch of missed calls and messages came in asking where all of my stuff was and if something had happened. My heart nearly beat out of my chest when I sent the photo of the shoes saying these aren't my size. She had the audacity to reply saying that they were her brother's from when he picked her up to go to mom and dad's. Did I not say she would pull something like that? I didn't even want to discuss it, but I knew she was cornered, so I sent the photo of them in bed and I left it at that. She did not even try to call. I was expecting a wave of calls or texts. In my eyes, that was me leaving her, and I know I could have called her out or caught them in the act and confronted them, but I wanted her to know I knew and that she would never be able to know how or explain herself. I will not tarnish her name as it is not in my nature, and I do not want to ruin her life, but she can live with this forever, although I doubt she has a conscience. I have left Wise as I know X will be down to see her soon, and I met my friends nearby collecting today's rundown to relay to you all. If it were not for Y, this would have been a lot harder, but I know she will sever her friendship with X in the next day or two. I am doing well and looking ahead. This hurt at first, but I'm glad I found out now and not after we bought a home. I have sent an email to the property manager informing her of our sudden split and that she would be covering the rent until the lease ended and that she could keep the bond. I think the pain for X will be when Y and I begin our inevitable relationship. Good for you, OP. Glad to hear that you didn't tolerate any of the crap your ex has put you through and have immediately moved on. You do not need to give her any kind of closure whatsoever. She needs to suffer the consequences for her actions and the pain she has caused you. If I were you, I would not get involved with Y right now. I feel like it is too early for you to do that. Instead, I would call your friends and family, tell them everything that happened, and ask if you can stay with them temporarily for the time being. If you're on a lease with her, then contact your landlord and tell them what happened so that you can get taken off. I wish you the best with your situation, Opie. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's story. If there's a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care, everyone. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more